about being strategic is once you've gone through the syllabus and identified what you're good at, what you're okay at, and what you're maybe just terrible at that you don't understand, there are some topics that don't always come up. And if you feel like, oh, I don't understand these topics, you've now got to decide. When you look at the grade boundaries, if you go back and have a look at the grade boundaries for the last few years, there's probably a lot lower than you think it is, especially for higher tier. The percentage to get whatever grade you want is probably a lot lower than you think it is. We're not aiming for 100% here anymore. This is not Key Stage 3 anymore. We don't need 100%. Unless you're aiming for like a 9, for example, but I'm mostly talking to people who are around a pass mark, maybe want a 6 or a 7. You're not aiming for 100%. So we can afford to let go of a few things, just in the name of strategy, of being strategic. So for example, for me, let's say for me, the hardest topic on the whole syllabus is vectors. You have the shape and you have to figure out the ratio and find the scale K and all that. For me, I figured out, okay, I don't immediately understand this. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I have gone through and found that there are some questions, for example, this is hypothetical, I found some questions that are quite similar and therefore the working out, the mark scheme is quite similar, so I could revise that and just try and recite it if it comes up. Again, all of this is slightly risky. Or I could just decide, you know what, for that, let's say maximum it's going to be a 5-mark question, absolute maximum, maybe less. Let me actually focus on, I don't know, straight line graphs and work on that to improve myself, and maybe another topic, a few other topics that, you know, if I work on these, I can actually make myself better. I have the chance of actually understanding them, and therefore I can gain those, let's say, hypothetically, these 5 marks that I've lost from vectors, I can gain those somewhere else. Because me spending 5 hours trying to understand vectors and trying to understand vectors might not actually be the smartest thing to do, because I might never understand vectors. It might just be one of those things that goes over my head, for example. So I would actually rather go, do you know what, and I'm not saying cross off half the syllabus, right? I'm saying maybe there's 1 or 2 topics that you're like, I'm just never gonna get this, so I'm not gonna worry about it. If the question comes up, I'm just gonna roll on by. And I'm going to actually spend my time improving these other few topics that I know that I could actually get the gist of if I spent a bit of time on them. So you go through the syllabus and work out which ones you're just gonna be like, you know what, I can afford to lose this many marks, that's fine, let's leave it. Again, I'm not saying cut off 20% of the syllabus, I'm just saying a couple, 1 or 2 topics that you're like, no, there's no way I'm ever gonna understand this. Don't stress yourself about those. Focus on something else that you can improve.